Hi, my name is Dawn Schofield, and I recently published a book on my paranormal experiences, and I'd like to tell you one of them right now. A long time ago, when I was in college, my roommate had gone home for the weekend, and I was asleep. In the middle of the night, all of a sudden, I heard what sounded like a tinny radio sound in my ear. And it sounded just like a horse race, like somebody announcing the position of the horses. I could hear the horses' hooves and the crowd yelling, and it all sounded like it was coming from a little radio in my ear. And so I sat straight up, and it was complete silence because not only was my roommate gone, I think most of the people on the floor went home for the weekend as well. So there was no sound at all. I sat there for a few minutes. I looked under the bed, looked under the pillowcase, looked in the closet, etc. It was absolutely silent. There was no noise. So after a few minutes, I decided, okay, it was a dream I was having. For a second there, I was conscious and still kind of in the dream at the same time. That's definitely what it was. So I got back into bed and I laid my head down on the pillow, and immediately the same thing happened again. The little tinny radio sound in my ear of the horse race. So I sat up once again. I was really freaked out this time. I got out of bed and checked every place again. Even though I knew nothing was there, I decided to check again. And this time I sat up for about 15 or 20 minutes, and there was silence in my room and on the floor. And I thought, okay, I need to try to go back to bed. But if this happens one more time, I'm going to flip the hell out. So I decided to go back to bed, and it didn't happen again. That was it. However, for a while, every time I went to bed, I was really scared that it would happen again, because of course, if you hear voices that other people can't hear, sometimes that's a mental illness like schizophrenia or something like that. But fortunately, it never happened again, and I was very happy about that. Until January 21st, 2023. My husband, Mark, passed away on January 19th, 2023, and the night of the 21st, I was staying overnight at my brother's house. In the middle of the night, I woke up and I heard that same sort of like tinny radio sound in my ear as I had 30 or so years before, only this time it was a man, and he was saying, hello, 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 and in between his hellos, he kind of like gave a gasp. Like, I got this mental picture of things were like jumping out in front of him, and he was really scared. So I sat straight up, and unlike the experience 30 years ago, though, even sitting up, I could still hear the man's voice in my ear saying, hello, hello, hello. Now, it didn't sound like my husband. My first thought was maybe it was my husband, but it did not sound like him. So I sat there for like about 30 seconds or a minute, wondering what in the world I should be doing. And then it occurred to me to pray. So I prayed that the man be removed from the place where he was obviously lost and scared. I asked God to forgive him his sins and take him to himself so that he would be in heaven. As soon as I said amen, the man's voice stopped, and I've never heard anything like that again. The next day I was talking to my friend and my fellow paranormal investigator, Debbie, and I said, here's what happened. What do you think? And she said, well, you had been at the funeral home twice in the previous 2 days. Maybe there was another spirit in transition, and he realized that you were able to hear him, and maybe he decided to connect with you in the hopes that you could help him or something. And that could be an idea, but of course we don't know. Now, thinking back on both the horse race incident and the man saying hello incident, I think it's pretty safe to say that what I experienced is a form of extrasensory perception called clairaudience, where you can hear the voices of spirits and things from the spirit world that other people can't hear. Now, will it ever happen again? I don't know, because the last 2 times it happened were few and far between, and they were something that just came to me. I couldn't, make them happen. So we'll see. I don't know if they'll ever happen again in my life. but I find it fascinating. It's just another reminder that there's so much out there that we don't know about, and that's why paranormal investigation is so fascinating. Thank you so much. And my book, in case you're interested, is called Ghost Hunting: An Intro to Paranormal Investigation and Tales of True Ghost Encounters. It's available on Amazon, barnesandnoble.com, and my website, ghosthuntingandintro.com. If you're not interested, that's okay. Thank you so much for listening. Have a nice evening and stay spooky.